Welcome to the Unity Guides Expert Interview Series. My name is Clayton Stenson. I'll be your host today. This series is brought to you by Unity Guides Incorporated, where we help develop Unity within companies running on the entrepreneurial operating system. We do this through fractional integrator services and relationship coaching for the visionary and integrator. And the reason I started this interview series is that I've met some pretty amazing people in recent years, and the conversations we've had have been valuable to me. So I thought I should share them with other people to add value to them as well. And today's guest is Eric Keiles. Actually, Eric, I don't know if I never asked you how to pronounce your name.
It's a tough one. Keiles.
Keiles. Oh, geez. Okay. So I'm gonna edit that out. So I'll say today's guest is Eric Keiles, right? Okay.
Yep.
So today's guest is Eric Keiles. Eric is an EOS implementer in Pennsylvania. Welcome, Eric.
Thank you. It's so nice to be here, Clayton. I appreciate you having me on the show.
And today's topic is going to be marketing. We both love EOS, but it's a little light on marketing guidance. So today we're going to fill in the gaps a bit due to your strong background in that area. So why don't you tell us a little bit about your background, and then we can dive into it.
Sure. I'm an entrepreneur at heart. I've had a couple of different businesses along the way, but my main and business I'm most proud of was called Square 2 Marketing. We're a digital marketing agency specifically focused on the HubSpot tool and helping people generate leads and grow their revenue through lead generation and revenue generation. I exited that company after 21 years in June of 2023. And I was so blown away by the work that our EOS implementer did for our company, I decided that would be my next chapter as well. So over the past year or so, I've been helping other folks kind of figure out how to implement EOS and throw a little gasoline on the fire to really grow their business. My marketing background is that we would help mid-market companies, mostly entrepreneurial, from 10 to 200 employees or so, who are really great at what they did, but not so good at marketing. And we would help them in 4 different areas: strategy, tactics, technology, and campaigns. And then somewhere in there, they would have this new skill or ability, and they would start to generate leads, close those leads, and then they would graduate from our program and have this new muscle that they could use to really grow their business. So that's my background. Awesome. When you touched on some of the EOS things, you and I were chatting on our last call how it's great the way EOS calls out marketing strategy, but it could go a lot deeper in helping companies understand why people should choose them, why they're different than the other folks, and so on. So that's kind of my specialty.
Okay. So really these conversations are meant to add value, to people running on EOS or other operating systems. So what advice do you have, on going a little deeper into this? Because there's the 8 questions and the vision component, your 3 uniques, all those kinds of things. So what else could you add value to people with?
Yeah, the 4 components of the marketing strategy section of the VTO, the Vision Traction Organizer, asks 4 very important questions, right? Who's your perfect client? And who you're targeting. Number 2 is what makes you different than the other folks. And then the last 2 are, what is your proven process and do you have a guarantee? So while those 4 important questions, we could really go a lot deeper in that conversation about marketing strategy. I think the first one is not just say, well, my perfect client is the vice president of sales at a mid-sized company located in Michigan, but really understand both the demographic, psychographic, and geographic components of that. Understand really deeply, what are their pains and problems, and why are they searching for a company like yours? And will your company solve those problems and do it in such a remarkable way that not only people talk about you and you get a lot of referrals, which are the best kinds of leads we can get, but they get the results that they're looking for. And that's really important. A lot of times in EOS, we use the 3 uniques or the differentiators as we have the best people, we've been around the longest, and we have the biggest facility. And not that those aren't bad things, but the other folks can say those too, whether true or not. And we just want to go deep and really differentiate you. In my 21 years of helping entrepreneurial companies, there wasn't one company that we could develop a unique, remarkable, as we call them, for that they could go to market with, make people go, wow, that is different. I'd like to continue the conversation or go down that sales road. So differentiation really has a little bit of a stronger meaning in my world than it would be just name 3 uniques. After that, you can take those three uniques and then tie it to your core focus, right? What's the big story? What's the rallying cry or mission? And I'll give you a quick story. We had a client that was perhaps the most unsexy company in the entire universe. They sold safety products, boots, gloves, protective eyewear, hard hats, stuff like that. And they were all about selling stuff, but they were flat. And when we started working with them, we realized that their passion was getting everyone home safely each night by the products they sold. That changed the whole game because now their big story was everyone goes home safe tonight. That's our mission. Once you have that, it's a completely different story than what can I do to sell you some hard hats or, protective gloves. And that really changed it so much so that they started to get more website traffic, more conversions, larger database of people that were interested, and they tripled revenue in about a 4-year period.
And I would guess that didn't just change things externally, right? Like that probably changed.
That's correct.
Internally as well.
Sure. Think about the recruiting process, right? Someone wants to join that company and we're like, we're on a mission to get everyone home safely each night. How do you feel about that? If you're excited about that, you want to join in on the mission. If you're like, nah, I just want to sell some stuff over the phone and go home at 5 o'clock, you're probably not a good fit for the company. Mm-hmm. Also, all the content they created from a marketing perspective was all about showing people how folks might get hurt and how you could prevent it, which gave them a very rich library of content to help people as opposed to just sell them.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I think in this day and age as well, the younger generations, you need a rallying cry like that. Like core values are great, but I think your marketing can be turned internal as well, right? In a lot of situations to get people excited about what they're trying to accomplish as a team. So that's great. So what other advice do you have for companies that are struggling in this way?
Well, that's about the differentiation. So just to recap, the first thing is go deep on your differentiation, right? The two filters are whether or not it's remarkable or not is it unique to your company? And is it interesting enough that someone will tell their buddy? Going back to the example of the safety products company, if there's a safety officer and he's in a LinkedIn user group, he's like, yo, you guys got to check out this company. They're doing everything they can to get our people home safely each night, which starts a whole conversation amongst their peers. Now that drives more people to the website and so forth and so on. So go deep in your differentiation. And if anybody's interested in that, I could give them a couple of worksheets they could use internally to kind of figure out what makes them different. The second is the campaigns, right? So back to the persona or the target market that you're looking for, you have to understand a full understanding of where they get their information from. We call those places watering holes, right? So think of Africa. You have your elephants, your zebras, your gazelles. They're all kind of sharing water at the watering hole. Well, all target markets have those same places where they gather to get information. Understanding that because you have gone deeper on your target market, now it's the company's opportunity to put their rallying cry and all their content in those watering holes or the places where people are gathering. So rather than just blasting advertisements or campaigns, now we're using laser-like precision to go right to the places where people that they want to do business with actually are getting their information and trust those peers. So, for example, in the case of the safety products company, we found these safety officers and warehouse managers in LinkedIn user groups reading certain safety blogs. Offline, they went to safety conferences. They read safety magazines. They followed key opinion leaders in the safety space. And all we did is put a lot of content in those 5 places, which then engage with people that, of course, are worried about people getting hurt on their shift. That engaged them, built the database, nurtured them, and turned them into customers as well. So the campaigns, and I think a lot of people are not fully understanding, like, oh, I'll put $5,000 on a Google campaign or a LinkedIn campaign and hope for the best. No, we can be very strategic about our campaigns and make sure that the content we're providing is put in the right place for exactly where our target market wants to receive it. So little strategic things like that will really broaden that marketing strategy as part of the VTO.
What's your perspective on paid versus adding value and just giving away like blogs and stuff like that? What's your perspective on that?
Yeah, in a perfect world, I'd like to just do inbound, right? Where you're providing content and they're coming to you for more information. The challenge with that, though, is that requires a good bit of content, which also requires effort, and it
Mm.
takes some patience because a good inbound lead generation program could take a year to get really some good momentum. So, the typical way that you want to do it is you want to balance some inbound activities, waiting for that to get traction, and then some outbound campaigns to kind of jumpstart the campaign because you're spending a little bit money. The goal is that as your inbound takes hold, you're reducing the amount of your campaigns and increasing the amount of inbound leads so that as it becomes mature, you don't need outbound or paid campaigns anymore and you can rely on your inbound. But that takes patience, which is why it's important to jumpstart and balance inbound and outbound campaigns in the beginning of your journey.
It's interesting. This is really good. I think how most people treat this section of the VTO is it's kind of like it's a kind of a checkbox. It's like, yeah, we need to fill something in here. So we're gonna just fill it in and check it off. Okay, we did it, right? But don't actually, like you're talking about, go deeper, right? And think about the psychographic, which is I agree with you, extremely important. I'm working with one of
Yeah,
my
I think you're right about the checkbox. It's like the next thing on the VTO is we do our marketing strategy. But remember, the whole thing about EOS is that it's about scaling your company. And if you're going to scale your company, you got to have a great message and you got to put it in front of the right people. So, not to gloss over that section too much, but go a little deeper. I'm not saying hold up the work on the VTO, but then come back to the marketing strategy and then take some time going deeper so that you can let that cascade down into your sales and marketing team so they can get the results you're looking for.
That's awesome. It's awesome. um, any other tips and strategies that you'd like to share to add value?
Well, in today's market, you definitely need some kind of technology to help you. So,
Mhm.
to automate things, which is, one of the things about hitting the ceiling for EOS clients is that we want to simplify, right, and systematize things. So you
Mhm.
need some kind of software. I'm not saying you got to spend $5,000 a month on the most sophisticated software, but you need a tool like ActiveCampaign, HubSpot, Zoho to kind of facilitate those kinds of things. And I'll give you the journey. I'm interested in a engineering firm, right? I have a project coming up and I'm trying to select amongst engineers. So that tool, whether it be HubSpot or something else, helps with search engine optimization. Engineering firms, Philadelphia, great. It goes to the website. Once again, HubSpot content management system will manage your website. I get to your website, it has great messaging, but there's also an offer. Download our free report, 6 questions to ask an engineering firm before you hire them. I fill out a form. That's part of HubSpot. It goes into the database, part of HubSpot. It triggers a nurture campaign, say 5 emails over the next 2 weeks, kind of building a case why you should do business with that engineering firm. Then they finally hit the calendar tool to schedule a conversation with your salesperson. Once again, in HubSpot, automatically pops up on their calendar, and now you have another sales opportunity. So even in that brief description I gave you of a journey someone might go through to hire an engineering firm, you need a little technology there because we don't want to do it manually because as our companies scale, we get more and more sales opportunities and it becomes a real manual effort as opposed to just putting that in place, that back end automation. So everybody should consider some kind of tool. HubSpot starts at $500 for the year for their starter package, and most businesses listening to today's call can afford that.
Hmm. Yeah, and I've used HubSpot quite a bit as well. And then once that call is booked, it can go into a deal pipeline. This is also all of this is tools that you can use for scorecards, right?
Mm-hmm.
You can pull your scorecard as an integrator as well. And it's quite a few people on this listening to this are going to be integrators. It helps me as an integrator to hold my sales team accountable and see, what's happening and that sort of thing as well. So yeah, absolutely. I think software is.
Also, I'd rather spend $500 a month on some HubSpot software than hire a $150,000 salesperson or a $100,000 marketing manager, right? So the more we could use technology to automate some of those tasks, the fewer people we'll need in our budget.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's
Also,
great.
I think people listening might be like, oh no, this guy Eric is talking about hiring salespeople and marketing people. And that's a resource conversation, right? It could be a full-time employee, but it could be a fractional person. Obviously, Clayton, you're the expert around fractional team members. It could be a freelancer, it could be an agency, it could be a contractor. So there's a lot of ways to skin that cat. You just have to be a little bit creative in what the structure of your revenue team looks like, and then what budget you have to fill those seats. So once again, back to EOS, but there's some conversation about being creative on how you manage the revenue generation portion of your business. You just don't need often we don't need just full-time employees.
That's good. I think one challenge I hear people talk about with marketing is measuring ROI, and return on the money you're spending on marketing. What would your response be to that? What are your thoughts around that?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of companies, especially my old company that engaged with entrepreneurial companies, they weren't doing much around sales and marketing, or I should say revenue generation. They typically have a salesperson or customer service person to help someone who wants to buy, but they're not actively going out and lassoing people, getting them in the database, nurturing them, turning that into more and more revenue. So from a budgeting point of view, you want to work backwards from how aggressive you want to build your company. So for example, if you're $1 million company and next year you want to be $1,000,001, you really don't need too much marketing, right? Some good execution, a few referrals will get you there. But if you're a $20 million company and you really want to be a $30 million company, yeah, you need a decent amount of marketing to generate enough opportunities for the sales team to close. So it's not like 2 or 4 or 6% of budget. That's not appropriate. It's how aggressive you want to be. So, for example, if you want to grow, let's say, $2 million and the average engagement size of a client is $25,000, you need 80 clients in order to hit your goal. So the question is, what kind of program do I need to attract enough leads to result in 80 new clients? And that is completely different than if you want to double the size of your business. Now all those numbers should be 5 times as large. So that's how you figure out budgeting, is based on your goals and objectives. Some companies that are mature and just plug along and the owners are good using the company as a cash cow, they don't need to invest anything in marketing. But for companies that really want to aggressively grow, they should have a very large allocation of their free cash flow put back into the company to generate more leads and close those deals. So there's a great exercise if anybody wants to email me at eric.keiles@eosworldwide.com. I'll send them a cool worksheet that they could actually figure out their budget based upon their goals and objectives, not upon some standard formula.
Awesome. I'll put that email address in the YouTube description so people can
thank you.
grab it if they need it. Another topic kind of in the marketing world is like building a personal brand. Obviously that's applies differently in different contexts, but like for me, I've been working on that, just getting content out there, building relationships, adding value, that kind of thing. What are your thoughts around that kind of world?
Yeah. So, when we look at Robert Kiyosaki's box, you have your employee, you have your self-employed person, you have your entrepreneur, and you have your investor. So no matter where you are on that journey to either be, an investor or employee, you need to have some kind of personal brand so that the people you're interacting with understand the essence of who you are, what you do, what you could do to help them, and so forth. I think one of the biggest things that people are shy about is that they think it's a big effort. Look what we're doing now, right? We met, we decided it was worth the time to spend to record a little conversation, and you're generating some good content around your personal brand being a connector. It doesn't cost you anything but time. And if you're a little bit strategic about what you're putting out there in the world, then people will start to get it. Hey, this guy Clayton, he really knows what he's talking about, and he's well connected with all these other thought leaders. He's the guy I should talk to about hiring for my fractional integrator, as opposed to someone who we don't hear anything from and just is sitting in their desk waiting. And that's that kind of like proactive approach to how do I let people know exactly who I am and what I could do to help them. That does not have to require a lot of investment, just a little bit of time and creativity to put that together. The other thing I would say about personal brand is you can't be everything to everyone. And that is a big problem because people are so diffused, nobody knows. So had a great conversation this week with a up-and-coming entrepreneur who was running their own digital agency. We were introduced because they figured I knew something because I have gray hair. And we had a nice conversation. And through the conversation, we uncovered that her team's passion was doing the branding for luxury brands. So I said, well, how many of your clients are luxury brands? She goes, oh, like 20%. So I said, well, you might want to consider saying no to new projects that aren't in your sweet spot so that everybody knows that your agency is the luxury branding agency and they shouldn't go anywhere else. That says no to the wrong people and yes to the right people. And now you can grow a lot more effortlessly by making that your personal brand. So, she couldn't think that way because she was in the business every day. But when you rise up and you look at it objectively, her personal brand should be luxury branding or nothing. That's what we do.
Yeah, that's really good. It's really good. And I've made a stronger commitment to that over the last 6 months. And I'm starting to see more and more inbound, like people, like you talked about earlier, the inbound stuff. People one person messaged me this week that was just like, hey, I have a friend of mine is looking for a fractional integrator. Told me a little bit about it. It turned out I didn't have capacity to help at that time. But I asked him, how did you hear about me? And he's like, I don't really know. I just saw your stuff on LinkedIn and watched some of it. And I was like, yeah, I like this guy. He seems like he'd be really good. Right. And I think that's, that can really be a strategy, but it takes longer, right? Like you said.
It does. And some patience and some focus. You're absolutely right. But look at that, a lead generated from your personal branding efforts, and it didn't cost you much besides a little time to put that content out on LinkedIn.
No. And I think what advice that I would say if you're going to do personal branding is like, just be yourself. You know what I mean? Like, I really, truly enjoy doing this. I enjoy just having interesting conversations. I enjoy adding value. The more I relax and just be me, the more effective it is, and the more I enjoy it. And it's wonderful. I think it's important not to try to be something you're not. Right?
I agree. I've always been an aggressive entrepreneur. So I go through EOS boot camp, my training, and they want you to be very pure in the way you present it. And in the beginning, when I started to help clients, I was really cognizant of like, I must be this robot and do exactly what they told me to do. But then I realized that I only work well with companies that want to win the Super Bowl. They want to be aggressive. They want to grow their company. They maybe want to exit. So now I ask the question in the getting to know you process of, do you want to win the Super Bowl? And people stop and they go, oh, that's interesting. Some people go, yes, we'll do anything it takes to win the Super Bowl. They're my clients. And other folks are like, no, we just want to grow a little bit and we're curious about EOS. And then I refer to another more mellow EOS implementer who won't be like, we got to get this done this quarter because I really want to coach teams to win the Super Bowl and nothing less. So once I started being me, a lot of referrals started coming in, to your point.
That's interesting. Any other thoughts? Any other value you want to add?
I could talk marketing all day. I could talk EOS all day. Like you, Clayton, I love what we do, and I'm really happy to do it. But once again, we also have to be limited on our content. So I appreciate the time to chat with you today. It really was nice to meet minds, a meeting of the minds.
Yeah, awesome. So if someone wants to reach out and connect with you and learn more about you,
yeah, if you Google Eric Keiles, obviously I come up. But if you go to the EOS website and Google Eric Keiles, Keiles, you'll find my microsite. Also, I have a specific site called juntoconsultinggroup.com. That's JUNTO. That is not only my EOS implementation site, but also a little bit about the speaking and the books I've written and things like that. And you can, of course, call me 215-460-7716 or email me at eric.keiles@eosworldwide.com.
I'm curious about the books. Sorry, I'm going to pull us back in to the interview a little bit. Tell me about some of the books you read.
Yeah, at my marketing company, my business partner, Mike Lieberman, and I wrote 3 books. The first one was Reality Marketing Revolution. It's a lot about the basics of inbound lead generation. The second book was called Fire Your Sales Team Today. No, we don't want anybody getting fired, but we do want to talk about the alignment between marketing and sales in today's world. And then our last book, which is by far our most popular, is called Smash the Funnel. And it talks about the way people buy things these days, as opposed to the old funnel, which was top of funnel, middle funnel, bottom of funnel, which obviously is not the way people buy. They do not buy in a linear fashion. There's swirling data everywhere around them. So we wrote that book called Smash the Funnel. And those 3 books are kind of a nice library of anybody that wants to DIY or do it yourself by implementing some of those concepts at their company. All of them are available on Amazon and on Kindle and Audible.
Awesome. That's great. I'm a bit of a book nut. So when you talk about writing a book, then I need to know.
Yeah. Well, Smash the Funnel is great. It also has a fable that runs along the book of a fictitious $50 million IT company and how they implement some of the concepts and the results they got. So people really like it because it's a very easy read.
Awesome. That's great. Well, on behalf of our viewers, thank you for joining us today, Eric, and thank you for sharing your passion on the topic. I'm sure it's going to add value and have an impact on people that watch this. So if today's interview added value to you, please subscribe to this channel for future interviews with experts in the world of business.